I have been practicing gratitude every morning for 50 years, not because I am unusually fortunate, not because my life has been unusually free of difficulty. It has not been. I have known loss and illness and failure and the specific varieties of grief that come to a person who has lived long enough. And I want to be clear before I tell you what 50 years of this practice has produced, that the practice did not prevent any of that. It did not make the difficult years easy or the losses smaller or the grief less real. What it did was something else entirely, and something considerably more important. I am 91 years old, and the most important thing I know is this: gratitude is not a feeling, it is a practice. And the distinction between the two is the difference between waiting for the circumstances to produce it and choosing to produce it regardless of the circumstances. The feeling of gratitude arrives when something good happens. It is real. It is good. It is the natural and appropriate response to a gift received or a wish granted or a difficulty resolved. But it is not the practice, because the feeling depends on the circumstances, and the circumstances, as everyone who has lived a complete life understands, are not reliably good. They are sometimes good and sometimes difficult and sometimes indifferent and often mixed. And the gratitude that waits for reliable goodness is a gratitude that will be intermittent at best and absent at worst, in precisely the seasons when it is most needed. The practice is different. The practice is the deliberate, daily, specific act of looking at what is already present in your life, not what is hoped for, not what has been lost, not what others have that you do not, and finding through attention and intention rather than through circumstance what is genuinely, specifically, irreplaceably valuable in what is already here. It sounds simple. It is not easy, because the mind, left to its own tendencies, does not naturally orient toward what is present and sufficient. The mind orients toward what is insufficient, what is threatened, what is not yet here. This is not a moral failing. It is a feature of the human mind that was enormously useful when the threats were immediate and physical. It is considerably less useful when the threats are the ordinary anxieties of a life that is, by most measures, already more than enough. The practice of gratitude is the deliberate correction of this orientation, not a denial of what is difficult or insufficient, a disciplined redirection of attention toward what is also true. That the life you are living in this specific moment contains specific things that are genuinely, irreplaceably valuable, and that attending to those things, naming them specifically each morning, before the day's orientation toward insufficiency begins, changes not what is there, but what you see when you look at what is there. And changing what you see consistently across 50 years produces a different life, not a better circumstanced life, a more inhabited one. Let me tell you about 2 mornings. The first morning was during one of the most difficult years of my life. I was in my late 40s. I had just received news that had changed the shape of my future in a way I had not chosen and would not have chosen. The circumstances were genuinely hard, and I sat at my window that morning with the weight of those circumstances pressing on everything I looked at, and I did the practice. Not because I felt like it. I did not feel like it at all, but because I had been doing the practice for 20 years by then. And I had learned enough to know that the mornings when it is hardest to do the practice are the mornings when it matters most to do it. And so I sat and I named as specifically as I could what was genuinely present in my life that morning that had value. The light, the cup of tea, the fact that I had slept and woken, the friend who had called the evening before, the specific, small, ordinary things that were there alongside the weight of the difficult circumstance, and that the weight was obscuring. I'd feel better immediately. The practice is not alchemy. It does not turn grief to gladness. What it did was widen the aperture. It allowed more than the difficulty into my field of vision. And in the widening, the difficulty was not smaller, but I was less completely inside it. I could see around it, not past it, through it or around it, but around it, at the ordinary morning light that was also there. The second morning was 3 years ago. I was 88. I woke at 5 in the morning, as I often do now, and lay in the specific awareness that is available at 88, the awareness that the number of these mornings is finite. In a way, it was not at 20 or 40 or even 60, and I did the practice. And what I found that morning at 88 at 5 in the morning was not a list of blessings or a tally of good fortune. What I found was the specific, unrepeatable quality of that specific morning. The quality of the light through the curtains. The particular warmth of the bed. The sound of birds beginning. The fact of being alive in that morning, in that light, with that specific, ordinary beauty around me that had been around me every morning for 88 years, and that I had learned across 50 years of practice to actually see. The practice changed what I saw. And what I saw on that morning at 88 was enough. Not more than enough. Not overwhelming or transcendent or extraordinary. Enough. The specific, unrepeatable, genuinely sufficient morning that it was. That is what 50 years of the practice produced. The ability to see the morning as what it actually is. Genuinely. Sufficiently, irreplaceably enough. 3 things. From 91 years of living and 50 years of daily practice. First, begin before you feel it. This is the hardest and the most important instruction, because the natural impulse is to wait until you feel grateful before you practice gratitude. To wait for the circumstances that produce the feeling, and then to allow the feeling to do the work. But the feeling comes and goes with the circumstances. The practice is available regardless of the circumstances, and the practice done before the feeling, over time, produces the feeling. The way to begin the practice is not to wait until you feel like doing it. It is to do it when you least feel like it. To sit on the morning after the difficult news, or in the season of genuine uncertainty, or in the ordinary gray morning that offers nothing, that feels like occasion for gratitude, and to look deliberately at what is actually there, specifically, not in the abstract. What specific things are present in this specific morning that have value? Name them. The naming is the practice, not the feeling that may or may not follow. The naming. Begin before you feel it. The feeling will follow, not always immediately. But across the practice, across weeks and months and years, the naming builds something in the mind, a specific habit of noticing value, of seeing what is present alongside what is difficult, that changes the orientation of the whole life, not because the circumstances become better, because you become better at seeing what is there. Second, specificity is the practice. Gratitude said in the abstract is not the practice. I am grateful for my life, for my health, for my family, for all that I have. This is true and it is good, but it is not the practice. The practice requires specificity. The specific cup of tea, the specific quality of this morning's light, the specific way the person you love said a particular thing yesterday, the specific freedom that is available to you today that was not available to people like you a generation ago, the specific small thing that would only occur to you from inside your specific life to name. Specificity is the practice because specificity is what produces genuine attention. And genuine attention is what the practice is actually for, not the feeling of gratitude, but the quality of attention that produces it. The quality of actually seeing what is there rather than processing it through the overlay of what is worried about or anticipated or not yet arrived. When you name a thing specifically, you see it, and seeing it genuinely, specifically, without the overlay is the practice. The gratitude follows from the seeing. The seeing is what the naming produces. Every morning name 3 specific things, not categories, things. The more specific, the more ordinary, the better. The ordinary things are the ones that are most reliably present and most reliably unseen. Name them, see them, let the naming be the practice. Third, the practice changes what you see, not what is there. I want to be very clear about this because it is the thing that most people misunderstand about gratitude practice. It is not the practice of pretending things are better than they are. It is not the practice of denying difficulty or refusing to see what is hard or performing happiness when the appropriate response is grief. The practice is the deliberate expansion of what you see to include what is genuinely present alongside the difficulty. The difficult thing is there. The hard circumstance is real. The practice does not remove it from view. It widens the view. It includes in the frame the things that are also there. The morning light, the warmth, the ordinary, unrepeatable, specific beauty of the day that is happening regardless of the difficulty, and allows them to be seen alongside the difficulty rather than obscured by it. The practice does not change what is there. It changes what you see when you look at what is there. And changing what you see across 50 years changes what you live in, not the circumstances, the quality of inhabiting them. The difference between a life that is lived primarily inside what is insufficient and feared, and the life that is lived alongside those things, not instead of them, in what is also genuinely present and genuinely sufficient and genuinely worth the attention you give it. I am 91 years old. I have sat at this window for 50 years of mornings and looked at what was there. Not always with gladness, not always with warmth, but always with intention, always with the specific, deliberate act of naming what was genuinely present and genuinely valuable. And across 50 years, the practice has produced this. I can look at any morning and find something in it worth being alive for. Not because every morning is extraordinary, because the practice has given me the eyes to see what is ordinary and to understand, finally, that ordinary is not a lesser category than extraordinary. Ordinary is what a life is almost entirely made of. And the person who cannot find value in the ordinary is the person for whom most of their life will remain unseen. Find the value in the ordinary every morning before the day's orientation toward insufficiency begins. Name it specifically, and let the naming produce the seeing, and let the seeing across years and decades produce the life that the gratitude that was always possible was always trying to make visible. This is the final episode of this series. 32 episodes, 32 elders, 32 lives given to saying the most important things they knew. And the most important thing, the practice that underpins every other piece of wisdom in this series, is this: be grateful. Not when you feel it. As a practice, daily, specifically, before the day's noise begins. Look at what is actually there, in the specific morning you are in the specific life you have been given. Name what is valuable in it. Not the large things only, the small ones, the ordinary ones, the things that would only be noticed by the particular person you are, living the particular life you are living. Name them. See them. Be grateful for them. Not because the circumstances deserve it, because the practice of gratitude is the practice of being fully alive to the life you are already in. And you are already in it, right now, this morning. It is enough. It has always been enough. Begin.